What's up guys, welcome to Velocity Motion Athletic. I'm Coach Daniel and today's video is all about the healing phases and the RICE technique. Before I get started, please press that subscribe button just to show your support for this channel. Alright, so when we get injured, our body goes through three main phases of healing. Inflammation phase, proliferation phase, and the remodeling phase. Right, so the first phase, the inflammation phase, is the first point of injury. So now inflammation normally has a negative association toward it, but without it our body cannot actually heal. The problem comes when it is prolonged and it exceeds our normal healing time. So inflammation is a defense response which helps limit and destroy the pathogen spread in our body. It removes debris and damaged tissue and also helps with the initiation of tissue repair. So the second phase is the proliferation phase. This is the development of new blood vessels in a process called angiogenesis. This causes granulation tissue made up of collagen and elastin. So now this new vascular tissue helps form the scar of the wound. This scar tissue is laid down in a mesosphase, just piled on top of each other. So now we need to break it down and restructure it. So this brings us to our third phase, which is the remodeling phase. So this is when the wound contracts, so the wound becomes smaller. This causes excess scar tissue, which will adversely affect range of motion and functionality. In this phase, we focus on progressive exercise and making sure the collagen is laid down in a organized parallel fashion. This helps increase functionality, which is strength and mobility. So these are the three phases our body goes through from the moment of injury to the healing process. Now during the inflammation phase, we use a technique called the RICE. R-I-C-E stands for rest, ice, compress, and elevate. The first one is rest. So you need to rest your joint for 48 to 72 hours after injury. This is pretty obvious because if you break your leg, you won't be able to go back into exercise. So it's important to do up to 3 days of rest just to help with the recovery period. So the next one is ice. So we need to apply ice for 10 to 30 minutes and reapply every 2 hours. More than 30 minutes at a time can actually damage the skin. So why ice? Ice helps decrease pain by decreasing nerve transmission in the pain fibers. The cold reduces activity of free nerve endings. It helps reduce the pain threshold. It releases endorphins, and the cold sensation outdoes the pain sensation. It also reduces swelling to the area by causing contraction in the blood vessel, which limits the supply of blood to that area. This can also be a bad thing over a long term because too little supply of blood to the area can actually damage it. The next one is compress. So we need to compress the area with a bandage. This helps reduce swelling by limiting the blood flow. When you sleep, you need to take your bandage off, and after 48 hours, you need to remove it completely, obviously, because limiting the blood supply can damage the area. And the last one is elevate. So we need to elevate the limb that is injured just to restrict the blood flow and also help with limiting swelling. So if you have a lower limb injury, say you broke your ankle, you need to raise your ankle above your heart because your heart obviously pumps the blood through, and it just helps reduce the blood flow into that area and limit swelling. So if you're lying down, put your ankle on top of a pillow just to raise it above. If it's in your shoulder, just raise it up a little bit. So now you know the RICE technique. So here's a quick image of the three phases, basically showing the characteristics, the duration, the goals that you need to focus on, and the people you need to see during these three phases. So like the inflammation phase can take up to 5 days, and your goal is to basically stabilize the area. The proliferation phase can take up to 21 days, and you need to decrease the dead muscle tissue and help increase circulation. And then the remodeling phase can take up to 1 year. This is where your focus is to stabilize the area again and basically establish and get it back to its normal function. Alright guys, and that is it for the healing phase and RICE technique. If you enjoyed this video, press that like button, subscribe button, comment what you want to see next. Follow me on my Instagram pages, Velocity Motion Athletic and Danny_Parsons. I will see you guys in the next video. This is Velocity Motion Athletic. I'm Coach Daniel and I'm out. Cheers.
We'll be right back.